Živijo, tukaj je Anže, poslušate podcast Aparatus, kjer legitimni člani družbe povejo, kaj počnejo v življenju.
Stroške gostovanja, spletne strani in vseh fajlov Aparatusa tokrat sponzorira podjetje Design, ki se ukvarja z industrijskim in grafičnim oblikovanjem ter oglaševanjem in je na internetu na www.de/sigen.si. Sicer pa je Aparatus trg že leto dni in je v tem času z odzivom sogovornikom in kar je še bolj pomembno, vrst poslušalcev presegel vsa moja pričakovanja, tako da vse skupaj še z večjim veseljem počnem. Tako da sem tudi na urgiranje nekaterih poslušalcev omogočil, da lahko tudi vi pomagate Aparatusu direktno, ne, ker sponzorji ne morejo vsega pokriti. Te intervjuji pa pač terjajo svoj cajt in jaz sem samo en model z mikrofonom in računalnikom. Tako da, če bi radi pomagali Aparatusu, greste lahko na aparatus.si/podpri, link bo tudi v vseh postih. In če imate možnosti, pač podprite Aparatus, ker bom tako lahko še več truda in cajta vložil v sajt, v intervjuje in v vse ostalo. Tako da, če imate možnost, aparatus.si/podpri. Hvala.
Tole pa je 48. epizoda Aparatusa, ki bo zopet v angleščini. Tokrat je z mano govoril Andrew J. Clark, druga polovica podcasta The Menu Bar. Se pravi, gre za človeka, ki The Menu Bar dela z Zekom Sajčijom, ki pa je bil gost v Aparatusu že v epizodi 42. Andrew sicer rad snema, zdaj se več ali manj ukvarja s tem podcastom, je pa Avstralc, medtem ko je Zek Američan, jaz sem pa Slovenc. Tako da evo, to je pa v angleščini. Preden začnemo pa še tole, če to poslušate danes v sredo, to je 20.11, je jutr, se pravi četrtek, 21.11 od 4 naprej v Lutkovnem gledališču festival Naprej, ki ga organizira Društvo novinarjev Slovenije. Tako da bom jaz tudi tam govoril o podcastih, tako da če imate cajt pridite, sicer je pa cel program na www.naprej-forward.org. Evo, zdaj pa Andrew.
I guess we can start. I think this was enough of an intro. Me telling you that I just woke up, and you're probably drunk anyway. So I think that works out. I guess.
Yeah, I'm keen to maintain the air of mystery about myself. How can he drink and be on so many podcasts? So yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, but you're an Aussie. I think that kind of comes with the territory. Mm-hmm. Like I told you, I was in Britain last week. And there's a lot of Foster's commercials on British TV, which is weird.
Foster's is the biggest lie. What's that phrase? The biggest lie the devil ever told was convincing us he doesn't exist. Well, with Foster's, it's convincing people that anyone drinks Foster's in Australia.
Right?
It's a joke drink.
Thank you, because it's not a very good beer. It's really. I'm one of those beer snobs, basically. Yeah. I'm really into beer.
Controversially, I actually am not a big beer drinker myself. I'm more into the sweeter things, the spirits and the like.
Okay. I'm a really big beer guy, basically. I can't really, the spirits I do, but usually homemade stuff from around here, which is basically, medical alcohol. Stuff that's way too potent. Yeah.
Just stuff that got left in the war in someone's basement and is turned into alcohol and then is dug up and sold.
Yeah, basically, yeah. In weird bottles that have nothing to do with the actual drink. That's usually that's a good sign usually, where it's just like a bottle from, I don't know, some drink that was discontinued like 20 years ago and like a plastic cap on it. That's the best stuff.
Some faded warning label.
Yeah, or just no label, which is even better.
Yeah.
And just like, the drink is written on in a Sharpie. Just
alcohol, but misspelled.
Yeah. And some weird percentage that makes no sense. That's yeah.
-7, that can't be right.
Yeah, but it's the best stuff usually, the homemade stuff. If you can find the right person at the, farmer's market, you're set, basically. But yeah.
We're innovators, me and you, aren't they?
Yeah, basically. Oh, you see, you did the Z pronunciation. That's a good thing. Because
I was freaking out before, realizing, I can't quite recall, and so I quickly loaded up the last few episodes, trying to find a place where someone said your name. It's like, well, this is the wrong way to go about this, Andrew.
Yeah, it's Anže. Yeah. Oh, see, that was actually okay because the Brits can't pronounce it. Just they can't. Yeah. I spent some time in Glasgow with a friend, and his name is Tadej, which over here is a pretty common name, but it has a J at the end. So everybody over there just call, the most they can do is Tadej. which is just Tadage, yeah. It's like a French weird Hungarian thing, I guess. But yeah, but they just can't. When there's a J involved, it's a J somehow, always, with you people. And I say that with the whole Commonwealth, I think.
Yeah, I'll take the bullet for this one. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess, I'm going to ask you my first question because we've been talking about alcohol, which is weird. So, which is always the same. Who are you and what do you do?
This is an episode of the Menu Bar. Who am I? My name is Andrew J. Clark. I am sort of a video person doing editing and motion graphics and that sort of thing. But the thing of more interest is the one podcast, soon to be possibly more podcasts that I make. The main one being the Menu Bar.
Okay, so we'll go into podcasts later, but the whole video thing, because you sent me what's that called? The things on Vimeo.
I would call those a show reel.
Okay, so you sent me a show reel, you see. Okay, and I watched them, and the error one is awesome. I'm gonna put all of those. Yeah, I'm gonna put all of those in the show notes. But so, what made you want to do video? Because it's one of those things like video and audio. It's one of those things where not a lot of people just, I don't know, have the guts to go into it, or, No, I'm being serious, because, like, most people think it's all voodoo and stuff, but it's really just video and audio. So I'm just wondering why, you wanted to do that.
Yeah, no, my hesitation is I'm just thinking back to my past and trying to remember why I did get into it. So I finished high school studies, which in Australia goes up to year 12. And then I took a couple of years off, got a couple of jobs, saved up some money, bought a car, and kind of just noodled around. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, but I've always been a pretty rambunctious creative youth. So as a kid, I did a bunch of filmmaking, and I was really interested in, Wallace and Gromit, like stop plasticine animation, stop go animation, they used to call it back in the day. All that retro stuff. And so I made a bunch of short films over sort of a year, and made a comic book and a few other little kind of, I guess, tests for, like, is this something I actually enjoy the process of? And I enjoyed making the films the most, so I went to university and did 3 long years of a film studies degree.
Oh, so you're actually like a trained video guy.
Well, in so much as anyone can be trained for dealing with video, it's one of those things. It's like if you went to a university to learn how to paint, that wouldn't necessarily make you a great artist.
Well, yeah, that's true. But, video is a whole different kind of beast because the amount of data is just, it's insane.
Oh, it's so annoying. I hate backing up stuff.
Yeah, but you
see these people online who have got, like they can chuck everything they've ever made in a free Dropbox account. Here's my 200 megabytes of text files, and here I am with, well, great. Yeah, I've got 5 terabytes of stuff which I need to store in 3 different places and archive it all away and rah. It's a nightmare.
So, are you a NAS guy, or how do you handle that?
Not very well. It's it's just a bunch of naked hard drives, and I've got a couple of docs, and once I'm finished with the project, I just offload it onto, I've got sort of them in paired sets. They're not like rated together or anything. They're just pairs, which I try and, keep in unison. That's the thing though, that video people, in my experience, are actually not all that geeky. Like the people who get into video are they're not doing it because they love computer science. If they love computer science, they would be programming or doing something else more in that space. So there's a lot of kind of wizardry in the video world, and people who don't really know that much about the deeper technical stuff trying to solve computer issues and deal with backups and everything. Like, I've never met a producer who I could actually convince to store like 3 copies of all the final files. They say, no, we'll just have 1 copy on hard drive and we'll keep the tapes. And I try and tell them that's not enough. John Syracuser has assured me that that's not good enough. And alas, there's just not enough geekery in video culture for my taste.
Well, yeah, but it's the whole creative arts community, I think, kind of. I think
the worst.
Yeah. Yeah, let's just disparage everybody. Let's burn some bridges now.
Foster's, done. Australia, done.
No, but the thing is, I think that's where sort of Apple comes in, because they make products for those people. You know, I think they're one of those rare companies that actually makes stuff for the, you know, well, the cultural creatives, I guess we can call them that. Where you sort of have to know your way around the computer, but you don't have to have any interest in like computer science. Or is that unfair?
I think people who think like that end up getting into strife, because if you just use, say, Final Cut Pro 7, not X because that's a whole different thing, but Final Cut 7, and if you don't know if you never go into the preferences and you don't know what it's actually doing with all of your video media, then you could actually end up in trouble. So I think people get into it not really that interested in the computer side. They want to be writers or directors or, you know, wear berets, be artists. And then they end up sort of getting dragged into the technical side of it, you know, when in the dead of night they're trying to finish off an assignment and, you know, their computer blows up and they've never made a backup of it, or you know, didn't have Final Cut set to autosave, that sort of thing. So people get burnt by it and then learn enough to get by, I think.
Well, yeah, but the impulse is different. That's what I was getting at, you know. You just
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, which is one of the things that I keep being amazed by. Like people getting into this sort of stuff and just, you know, I'll sit with somebody that, I don't know, knows Pro Tools really well. And they just can do magic with Pro Tools. But then you just, you sit them down next to into a text editor and make them, you know, write like 3 lines of HTML and they just don't know what the hell's going on, basically. Which just boggles my mind, because every time I try to, you know, do anything with Pro Tools, I just give up after 2 minutes. And I'm a pretty, you know, decent computer guy. But that thing is just so... But I think it depends on the impulse you come to it with, you know. I'm guessing that's...
Well, I think the Avid tools they're a special case, because they are unintelligible to the uninitiated.
But isn't that, like, I think that's the case with most sort of editing software of any kind, you know?
Well, I don't think so. I think Final Cut Pro 10, for all its flaws, is pretty approachable, and it does its default behavior for how to deal with media makes sense for someone who doesn't know much about it, and the whole UI of it is fairly sensible, I think. Whereas with Avid, it's all invisible buttons. It's all if I hold my cursor on this partition of the track, like this top third, it does this. But below that, it'll do something different. But the interface doesn't actually tell you that. You sort of have to learn it by trial and error.
Well, yeah,
that's why I use Logic.
Yeah, well, I tried Logic, but I keep coming back to Audacity for audio stuff. Basically,
really?
Yeah, I don't know why. I think because that's what I learned the whole trade, I guess, on, you know. I just started with it, and then it's actually pretty powerful. It's ugly as hell. That is true. It's like by far the ugliest app I use. But I don't know. It just works for me. I know. I know there's stuff in Logic and even in Pro Tools that I could do faster than in Audacity. Even in GarageBand. Okay. Even if you go basic, I could do stuff faster. But like, I'm just so used to doing it in Audacity. I think I'm just faster at it in Audacity. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like the whole, I just go through the motions somehow with some of the stuff. And I just know if I need to learn a whole new system, I don't care. I just won't bother. So like, how much of the video stuff sort of translated, like the knowledge you gained there, translated into the audio stuff you do now?
That's a really interesting question. So not the tools. Like I really did have to learn from scratch how to use. I mean, initially I tried using GarageBand. I think I got partway through the first episode of the menu bar and I said, "Oh, heck to this." So I can't remember if I'm allowed to swear, but heck to this, and I'm just going to go and buy a Logic for $200, which I did. Yeah, it is pretty different the way that video tools and audio tools think about clips and want to treat. Sort of the nature of time is very different. Like in video, it's all about maintaining time. And so if I say, all right, this shot is going to happen at 1 minute and 30 seconds, if I start making cuts earlier than that, unless I want you to, don't move that shot. Like it all should be sort of kind of locked to the timeline. Whereas with audio, the default behavior, it seems like for anything in audio, as soon as you get rid of everything, just shuffle it along, just start moving this stuff, which, if you're trying to edit a podcast and you have a few tracks in sync is a bit of an issue. I don't know. I have a feeling audio engineers are even more conservative than video engineers when it comes to their UIs and their paradigms. That's just a guess on my part.
No, I think you're right there. Because I know a bunch of them from the radio station and a bunch of really good ones. And it's just, I don't know, because I've seen like video edited a couple of times and that just seems like it takes forever.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to explain that, because I had another guest on my Slovene podcast who's basically like a producer director guy. And he said, I don't know, it takes him, it's like an insane amount of hours for like a 30-second, run of video. So, how are you with that whole process? No, I'm seriously like, I don't want to talk about workflows and all of that stuff because that, but like, because I think it takes a certain mind, I guess, so you can wrap your head around all of it,
Yeah, totally. I mean, the hell with video is exactly to say just how long it takes. So say you have an idea for a 2-minute short film, and then we'll talk about the 4-minute animation I did, which took 4 times longer than what I'm about to tell you. But so you've got your 2-minute short film, you write a couple of page script. You get people to read it. They're reading over the same thing. You're tweaking stuff. You're trying to understand the plot and the story that you're trying to tell and figure out the best way to tell it. And then you map it out with your cinematographer and your designer, and you're going over this. You're like doing laps over this story and all these little moments over and over and over. Then eventually you do rehearsals. Then eventually you go and shoot it and you do these takes over and over. Then you bring it into your editor and you watch all the tapes and then you start roughly putting them together. And every time it's just doing these laps, this cycle over these tiny little unique moments that you're trying to this little world you're trying to fabricate. And then when you finish the edit, it's not over because then you have to go and color grade it so it actually looks like the real world. Because when you shoot stuff, it doesn't look real. It doesn't look, it's not stylistic in the way that, in the way that, it's weird that the camera sort of captures the world in a really sort of honest way, or I guess sort of very, very dull sort of way. But then you have to do all of this work to make it actually look like the thing that you shot to begin with. It's like it goes through this weird process to end up being roughly what you wanted on the day. But yeah, it's just ridiculous how long it takes. And you can spend, well, I mean, I spent 6 months doing 6-hour days and working 16 hours a day. Geez, a lot of sixes there, to make Errors Escape, that short animated film you alluded to. And like every frame of that would take hours to render.
Yeah, the renderings probably, yeah. I was about to ask about that because that must be, but that's probably gotten better with the computers we have now, or not? No,
because what happens is you end up filling sort of the available computational time that you have with just more detail. So, all right, well, now we can add more lights to it. We can have more detail, more translucency on the skin. The computers are never fast enough. The computers are only ever just fast enough, I suppose, is the way to put it.
Yeah, or if you want to make a cartoon that looked, from the early 90s, it'd be like, half a day rendered probably.
Yeah.
But it would look like it was made in the 90s, so,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Okay, so the whole video thing, I wanted to ask you, because, it's always a weird question, your influences. I don't like that question, but so that could you say which films made an impression on you, throughout your life? If you had to pick 3 that actually made an impression, on you, which would those be?
Those would probably be Toy Story, The Matrix, and Fight Club.
Seriously, the first one, right? We don't acknowledge the later.
Well, I hope don't let Zach hear you saying that, but yes, the actual Matrix.
Wait, what? Zach actually likes the second and third Matrix films.
I'd rather not comment.
Oh, that's just okay. I just don't know where to begin with that. Oh wow, I'm actually shocked by that.
Zach's a very heady guy. He likes He's got a much bigger brain than heart. No, that's a really mean thing to say.
Okay, I'm going to edit that part out. I just tweeted at him.
No, he's the best. He knows I love him, so you can leave that in. But yeah, those three films had the biggest impact, I think, on me. Those are the ones that spring to mind. But also the work of particularly all of Tim Burton's early stuff and his animated stuff, like Nightmare Before Christmas was a so that animated short film, Error's Escape. My whole pitch with that was that, in terms of the look of it, I would tell the animators and the lighters and whatnot that I wanted it to look like if Tim Burton made a Pixar film.
Okay.
That's the look I was going for with that.
That actually kind of makes sense now when I think about it.
Thanks, man.
Okay, that makes sense. But yeah, okay. So Toy Story was the one, I guess, that the whole animation thing, or.
Yeah, that's what really got me into films itself and animation. So I did a lot of, animating little plasticine models and animating, because I had a really old camera, which I could, and this is so ridiculous, but, whereas people like Steven Spielberg grew up with, 8mm cameras so that they could, just shoot stuff in their backyard, but they could also just shoot like one frame at a time if they wanted to. But for me, 8mm was not part of my life. So I had this really terrible little. It was basically just a lens. It was just a black and white camera that you would feed into your VCR, into like the inputs, and then you hit record on the VCR, and it would just start recording whatever the camera could see.
What?
It's like a third of a camera, basically. And then what I would do is I would button on and button off for like 1 second. So I just get this 1 second frame, second frame, third, 4, 5. And then to actually watch it and get like that, illusion of movement, I would have to hit fast forward.
Oh, wow.
And then watch it go. And it was like, in retrospect, it's like, oh my God, I don't even know why I thought that was an acceptable solution. There'd be no sound or anything. So that's how I learned about filmmaking.
Oh, wow. That stuff like that always reminds me when I started to play like basketball a little more seriously, and that was like 10 years ago or 8 years ago. My first coach would have would just watch the opponents play on video, and he'd still edit the tapes with 2 VCRs at home. We just blew, and that's in a time where, I guess like Windows XP was out, you could have like at least, I don't know, Windows Movie Maker. I think that was, but he was old school. He was an older guy, and he would edit like game footage with 2 VCRs, and he would know what to do. And that sounds, I don't know. Like, so
it was his audacity.
But touche. But when you fast forward, so you had to time it so that it would actually look like movement, or because that just seems that just seems,
you can tell you can tell the kids that are going to end up in therapy or on some sort of chemical compound, because they're the ones that have the energy to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, basically. But like, do you have any of those tapes still, or is that all gone?
Do I have any of those tapes?
Yeah.
Oh, I think my parents probably have them. But the thing is that, like, okay, I could digitize them, and then I'd have to like play it in QuickTime and fast speed to actually see anything resembling what I wanted.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh, I digitized my whole VHS library at some point, and it's a lot of work.
It is.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Like, maybe they're better just being tapes.
Yeah, but I have a bunch of family Christmases and all of that stuff. So it wasn't just for me. But yeah, I got this USB dongle on eBay for like $10, I think, that you plug into, like, it's a one part USB and the other part plugs into the outputs of the VCR, and it's sort of
I got one of those for my mum, and I think she digitized like 1.5 tapes, and that was all she could be bothered with.
Yeah, because you basically have to be there. You have to watch an hour of your family celebrating Christmas at some point, from 2002 or something. Yeah, I think there's better things to do with one's time.
I love the hurdle, like we were talking a bit about tools before, and moving between different applications. But it's interesting for like video editors who like worked for Spielberg. 10 years ago, they started switching to Avid and fully digital computer setups, and they hated it because it was unfamiliar, and they just pull out their hair and just go, oh, I just want to put this bit of film here next to this. It's so easy with scissors and sticky tape. It's so much easier than dealing with these files and these different folders, and I have to know what format they're in. If only we were still shooting on film. So I think there's something really interesting in the limitations that like the previous art forms kind of inherently had, and also the steps that you'll go through to make your little world actually come into existence, because that's what it's about. I mean, the menu bar, my podcast, is a little world. That's a little place, and in some ways a community that me and my buddy Zach are trying to bring about. And I presume for you, your work is something like that.
Well, yeah.
Hub?
A hub sounds better, I think. Yeah. Yeah, but you see, with audio, I think it's different because the language of the medium is so different than video, because you can't really show stuff. And I've seen the main example is Radiolab, I guess. But have you listened to Radiolab?
Oh yeah, it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, because I think it should be everyone's. But Jed published a PDF at some point where he showed how I think he uses Pro Tools. I'm not sure, but what that session looks like a Radiolab set, and that's just it looks like something a crazy person does. That it does not. No shit. There's so many tracks. It's just I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't even want to touch the mouse if that was open on a computer. And I'm all proud of myself when I have to do 5 tracks. I'm yeah, this is pro. Yeah, okay. But when you really get into it, it just gets and when you want to create that world, or that hub thing, it's I think audio, but I think audio is much more approachable than video, because that it's on a different can't think of the thing. What do you call it when there's the number 1 versus the number 10, and number 10 is order of magnitude. Oh, order of magnitude. Okay.
Like video is an order of magnitude complexity greater than. No, video is an order of magnitude of complexity greater than audio is, and that applies to everything. That applies to the complexity of recording a podcast versus two guys on the opposite sides of the globe with 2 microphones versus 10 times as many people. You need a crew, you need actors, you need lights, you need all that sort of thing. And then when you go to actually saving your media or working with it, it ends up being at least 10 times greater. 100 times greater. The documentary series that I'm working on, which is just finishing up, is it's 20 terabytes worth of video. And that's not the edited episodes, that's not the audio, that's just the video, that's just what the camera's made. What I do like about audio though is I love how flexible it is. With video, and doing the editing work I've done, and documentaries, it's a little bit better, because with a documentary, if you find yourself in a corner, you say, all right, I want to get from this scene to this scene, you can sort of just make something out of nothing in a documentary, because you just have so much footage. Mm-hmm. Whereas, if you're making The Matrix and you decide we need a new scene, you need to go and shoot that scene. But with audio, it's so bendable. You can just bend stuff back around on itself. And I can make, in the menu bar, I can make a joke which didn't quite work because the other person was talking at the same time, so they missed it. I can make that work by moving the next laugh a little bit up, or cutting a bit out, or folding something back in on itself. So I really enjoy that sort of the architecture of audio work right now.
Okay, so let's talk about the menu bar, which it's one of those shows. I have 5 shows in my Pocket Casts smart playlist that automatically downloads, and you guys just made it a couple of weeks ago. You made it into that, yeah. So if that means anything, but yeah,
it's a complex compliment, but I'll try.
So how? I talked with Zach about it, but you do most of the editing and all of that stuff, right? Zach basically just shows up, or how does it work?
Sorry, what was the question?
How does it work when you do? Because you're in Australia, which is in the future somewhere. I still can't work it out, right? Like, I think I'm in the middle between you two guys, right? Because you're 7.5 hours ahead, and I think Zach is about 7 hours behind me. So
yeah, that sounds about right. So we record on it's Friday evening for him, Saturday morning for me. I drink, he does not. We have a little chat. Then he Dropboxes his side of the conversation, and I put it all together. But the broader question I think you're asking is that I do all the editing for it, and he kind of takes care of the like descriptions and the tweets, and he sort of runs the Twitter account, and so we sort of do have what ends up being I feel like a pretty good division of labour. And he's getting into editing, but he doesn't quite have the experience for it.
You were searching for a kind word there, right?
Yeah, it's like, how do I phrase this and not sound like the biggest asshole in the world?
So like, how did you two meet? Like
on Twitter, like just 2 years ago, I think it was. I tweeted some random something, and Horace Deju of all people retweeted it, and that's how he started following me. Or that may have all been vice versa. It's a little while ago. And we just started chatting every day on Twitter.
But how does Horace Deju figure into all of this? Because
he's the common point. So we both are obsessed with Horace Deju.
Yeah, we all are, I think. I think Asimco is one of those. Because it's you see, Asimco is not. You know how Gruber basically attracts half the world to his site. You know, but I think Asimco just attracts us, like the weird. Because to get through a day's posts on Asimco, it's like you're in school, basically. It's
you've got to want it.
Yeah, I was
thinking about this the other day. Like, does he have kids? How does he deal with their grades?
Yeah, like imagine his kids just doing math. Let's just like primary school math, and just, hey, Dad, can you look at my homework? I don't want to know, like how that conversation goes. Basically,
Cindy's soccer training is disrupting Matthew's video game time.
Do you guys call it soccer?
We call it, yes, soccer. That's correct.
Yeah, but you call your version of football. Or no? Because there's an Australian version, right, which I've seen once on Eurosport. I don't get any of it. That's the weird. No, see, but it's not like.
Why are they riding horses?
No. No, but the thing is, like, because cricket is another big one, like, in Australia, right? Because it's a Commonwealth thing, I guess. But the thing is, like, I don't really get cricket, but I sort of, like, I see the mechanics of it, right? But with Aussie rules football, explain it to me. Like, if you can, like, just some basic semblance of some logic into whatever the hell's going on that pitch. Because, so they're supposed to kick it, right? At some point. But they carry it around most of the time. Like, I don't.
So the only rules are there are no rules, and it's last man standing.
Yeah, it's basically Mad Max for TV, right?
Yeah.
No, because
so you're not allowed to. Oh, and it's been a long time. See, this will stun you, but I'm not big into sports, and it's been a while since I've watched it. But I believe you, like every 10 meters or so, you have to bounce the ball, and the ball is not round. It's this. It's going to sound ridiculous. It's like it's shaped like a. Oh God, what do they call that game in America?
American football, yeah.
American football, yeah. So
it's bigger, right? This one's bigger. I think it's bigger.
I don't know. It may be a little bit. It's close enough. So it's a weird shape, so it's hard to bounce. And then if someone kicks it to you and you catch it, you get a free kick, and that's basically the only rules. And then, there's 2 goalposts at the other end of the field. I think that's about it.
Okay, I'm gonna find a YouTube video of like Aussie rules football, and anybody that's listening
it sounds like what I've just described is like Quidditch.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. That's basically. No, seriously, anybody that just heard that description and thinks it's a game of football, just watch the YouTube clip in the show notes, because it's just Seriously, me and my friends had an obsession with it for a time when we just tried to figure it out. Yeah, a couple of us just didn't want to read the rules online. So we just watched a couple of games and just tried to figure out what the hell's going on.
I think that sounds way more entertaining than actually watching Aussie rules football.
Yeah, probably. But sorry, but that's like in my notes here. That's an actual question. That wasn't enough.
I believe you.
Yeah, because I don't get to talk to many Australians.
Well, that's what I'm finding is that there are just not that many Australians. Well, I mean, there are plenty of Australians who have podcasts, but there don't seem to be that many that have like sort of a broader sort of international appeal. And Mike Hurley's talked about this as well. Is that he's the British podcaster to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So. If I can achieve anything, I'll be the Aussie podcaster.
Yeah, well, you see, how many people in Slovenia think have podcasts? Honestly,
66%.
Yeah, pretty much. I think spot on. And with the sixes perfect. Again, but yeah, okay, spot on.
Well, I think we've done some good work here, Andre.
No, but, because I see that I talked to Mike about podcasting and stuff, and I told him that it's different for you guys, because even in Australia, right? How many people live in Australia? What's the population there? Like, what's the actual number?
It's like 24 million.
24 million, okay. You see, a niche can still work with 24 million people, Even if you get a...
though?
You see, ask me how many people are in Slovenia. Just ask.
I'm going to take a guess.
Okay, guess.
Interesting for me. 3 million.
2 million. You see,
yeah, I know what you mean though. There is a market, and so compared to like our neighbours to the east, New Zealand, which I don't know how many people are there. I'm going to say 3 million as a guess. So we have the iTunes store. We have, most of. Well, so how like with iTunes in the cloud that sort of had to roll out slowly around the world. Mm-hmm. Australia was like the sort of third territory that would get it.
Oh, nice.
So we tend to have pretty good parity with the US and the rest of Europe. Mm-hmm. So, something will launch in the US from Apple, and then a few months later it comes out in Europe, a bunch of other places, and Australia. So we do pretty well with that. But I don't think podcasts are really a big thing in Australia at this point. Yeah. There again, we have pretty bad internet, so that might have something to do with it.
What does that mean, pretty bad internet?
Well, it's just not very fast. So what sort of download speed do you get?
Oh, we have amazing speeds. Like,
really?
Yeah, the capital is basically all optics by now.
Oh wow! All right, so I'm on a plan where I get like 5 megabits down, 1 megabit up.
Oh yeah,
and that's a pretty good plan for here.
Well, over here it really depends. If you're with one of the cable providers, that's pretty much like a run-of-the-mill plan is 6 down, 1 up, or maybe 10 down, 2 up, stuff like that.
Sure.
But once you get into the optics, and pretty much everybody in the capital can get them, it's like you can get like 2020, which is insane. You can run servers on that connection, basically.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, so we come to the portion where I do my tourist information bit on Strojna. No, but
go to Sydney, check out the big wombat.
No. I'm not gonna ask about the whole of Australia. Just like you're from Adelaide, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's it like there? That's as good as that question gets for me. But what's it like there?
Okay. Here I was thinking we'd just be talking about the menu bar. Adelaide's got a population of about 1.2 million, something like that. It's traditionally known. It's a bit like the Florida of Australia. A lot of old people.
Okay, yeah, that's not a ringing endorsement. But if you listen to Merlin and Dan talk about on Back to Work have you heard the Florida episode?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Florida show, really.
Yeah, basically.
It's got a little. I mean, the problem with it, and this is in everything, in terms of, the film community and comedy communities and all that sort of thing, is it's just little. So if you work in video, you know everyone who's doing it, and there's a bunch of people doing it, and there's a bunch of successful businesses, but really, there's only that bunch, and beyond that, there's not really anything. So. And I've heard that from like my stand-up comic friends as well, that it's a great place to learn something, but it's not really that good of a place to master something. because there's just not that much demand for video editors or any of that. But it's a nice town. A lot of churches, a lot of trees. Everything's really close.
Yeah,
and that's why my new job is as a tourist.
Yeah, basically, you should be on the Australian Tourism Board commercials, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, so one more Australia question, which is not mine,
Sure.
but a friend of mine said if I'm talking to an Aussie, I have to ask. So the animals over there, is it actually that scary? Is it actually that? Because, every time there's a guy posting on Reddit, I just saw this in my hotel room in Sydney, and it's a spider the size of my head. So I'm just asking, for somebody that lives there, how much of that is just, internet lore and how much is actually real?
I mean, I'm sorry to say it's way worse than that. If more people had the internet, there would be way more reports of it. No, it's all right. It's I mean, in some ways it means that you just have to be a bit sensible, but I don't think it's that different to in America. If you live near a forest, don't run around at night, holding raw meat because bears will come and eat you. So it's the same thing here. Don't be careful where you're digging around holes because there might be spiders in there, and snakes are always a problem in summer. In the cities, it's fine. There's no real, there's no wildlife in the middle of a concrete
that's true,
of the city. But a lot of people live on farms and out in in the wider suburbs, and then the farm communities beyond that, and so that's where you're getting all those interesting, giant head-sized spider stories and all that sort of thing. I like the myth of Australia, I think, more than the reality of it.
What, the koalas and the kangaroos and stuff? But
yeah, I like having these conversations with people and just making up fanciful stuff. You don't know, you're not going to come here. It's fine.
Yeah, I'd actually love to go there because it looks like a place that's fun to visit. If you know what I mean, it's an island at the bottom of the world, basically. That's how. And the beaches look amazing, dude. I mean,
they're amazing beaches. There is something really nice about Australians in general are pretty nice, and I've heard that from a lot of people who have visited. They're just, it's the polar opposite of the streets of New York. It's everyone's sort of just trying to get on, and people are pretty friendly and chatty and all that sort of thing. So we've got a good, cool vibe going. But there again, we're all descended from convicts who were sent here. So, we're just trying to get by, man.
Yeah, that's part. Yeah, that's, I think, the biggest part of the myth is the whole convict mentality. Yeah, but I think there's a lot of people from Yugoslavia that actually emigrated to Australia for whatever reason. I don't know why, but I think there's a huge Serbian and Croatian communities there. At least that's what I've read.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah, I don't really know what that's about, but
yeah, I don't get it either.
That's accurate.
I'm guessing there's a perfectly reasonable explanation, but I just don't know it, basically. And there's a bunch of
there are sort of waves of migration that sort of have come about in the last, I don't know how old we're 200 years old or something like that. So when there's one big, for a few years or a decade, there'll be a lot of Irish people sort of coming on the boats and coming here, and that sort of ends up making this kind of fragmented racial landscape. So I presume at some point there was just a lot of of Yugoslavians who came here for whatever reason.
I have not heard anybody said Yugoslavians in a long time, since the country doesn't exist anymore, but that just threw me.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's awesome, actually. I was born in Yugoslavia, but it fell apart when I was 7 or 8. I think, yeah, somewhere around there. Yeah.
So what word did you use? Did you say Serbians before?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, there's a bunch of Slovenians, I think, as well, but I think
Slovenians.
I think the Serbian and the Croatian community are bigger because there's more of them, I guess, even over here. There's I think we were the smallest country, basically.
Sure.
We still are. Okay, so
it must feel good having the most successful podcast in the whole country.
I mean, I get the top podcasts is basically me, another show I do, a bunch of shows from our BBC, basically the national, broadcasting service, and 3 guys do an Apple podcast, like a panel type thing every week, like MacBreak Weekly sort of, and that's pretty much it as far as Slovene podcast. Like,
I love the idea that there's an alternate MacBreak Weekly.
They're awesome. I was a guest on there a bunch of times,
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
But it's it's a cut to it, and it's a guy. It's just Leo Laporte wearing with a moustache.
Yeah, it's like Spock and Evil Spock, basically. That's
exactly.
Okay, and we'll transition. We'll talk a little bit more about the menu bar, but maybe the technical stuff. But I wanted to ask about, you started watching Star Trek recently, right? And you started with Voyager, I think, if I'm correct, right?
This is going to get controversial, but yes.
Yeah, just watch the original series, man. Why? You've not seen it, right?
No, I've probably seen an episode here or there, but
you see, just watch it. Just watch it, dude. I get angry when I've just gotten into Star Trek and I started watching Voyager. I mean, what? I love Voyager.
No. See, here's the thing. I'm not saying it's the best Star Trek, but I think it is the best one to start with, because if you're
I'm just gonna cut you off. No, dude, no.
It's so approachable.
No.
It's self-contained.
Look, I love Voyager, by the way. It's not like I think it's the crappiest one. It's not the best one, but it's not the worst one. But you have to watch the original series. You have to, because when you see that, you understand everything else so much better. Like everything else in the Star Trek.
I'll have to rename my puppy.
But yes. Yes, dude. Which is
a reasonable demand.
Yeah, just watch the original series. You see, this is in my notes as well. Just tell him to watch the original. I'm just not joking. That's what it says.
Is that the item that's written in your blood and sort of scrawled across?
Yes, there's a pentagram with a Star Trek, Starfleet insignia inside, basically. Yeah.
Actually, now I think about it, I think maybe that was not on the Apple TV.
Oh, that's why it wasn't. Yeah, I think that's a CBS property. And I think CBS is not really best buds with Apple. Because CBS had their shows on their website for a long time. When Hulu was around and stuff like that, they had them on their own website. I'm not sure, because we don't get any of that over here. So.
No. I understand from some episodes of MacBreak Weekly, I can dimly recall that that's the case.
Yeah, but so just watch it. Jesus.
Okay. I will.
Okay, that's done.
Jeez, I thought I'd annoyed Zach with that, but it turns out.
Yeah, I was like, what? Just, like when you listen to podcasts and something like that, you're listening, and I basically just started swearing. Just, yeah.
Oh,
just,
buddy.
So wrong. And then the dog naming thing, I was upset. Anyway. Okay, so just briefly back to the menu bar. Like, what's it been like? Yeah, from Star Trek. What's it been like the whole? Because we were derailed, but what's it been like watching the show grow? Because from my time in radio and doing podcasts, you get into the groove after I don't know, 10 episodes maybe. You kind of find the flow when you since you have a co-host, you get that chemistry. What has that process been like for you?
Well, I think me and Zach had really good chemistry from the outset, just because we're such good friends. We've been having these long Skype conversations. I don't think I got drunk for any of them, but we've been for the last year been chatting on IM every day and Skyping every couple of days. So it's like we were sort of almost practicing for the podcast just through our friendship and our intimate relationship. So then putting a microphone in front of us really didn't change things that much. And I think the reason it didn't change things or make us too stilted is that we set out to make a show which would be unplanned. We don't go in with any notes. We don't really ever have any idea of topics. Occasionally there'll be something I want to make sure I chat about, like an email we've got or whatever. But we want it to be real. We want it to be like two friends talking in a bar. And that takes a whole lot of pressure off. Whereas if we were doing a tech panel show, like your Slovenian podcast friends, I'd want to be doing research and I'd want to be, speaking in a more authoritative way. Whereas I'm fine just to giggle and make bad jokes and slurp my drink and eat popcorn at the same time because it's the bar. It's the whole premise of it. And I think that's what people are drawn to about it. I think they can sense that, that we are really at ease with each other and the whole thing. I don't have much interest in doing a tech panel show.
Yeah, that's sort of what I like it, because it actually, and even when you underlay the bar ambient noise at the start, that sort of, I love that touch. That's my favorite part, basically, every time. When it starts and I just hear the chatter in the background.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, but no.
A lot of love's gone into that whole idea.
Yeah, but that like touches like that sort of, I don't know, to my ear it makes it sound more, I don't know, that it's made with care, stuff like that, like the little stuff. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but that's sort of why I was drawn to it at first, basically. So.
Yeah, I hope people do get that, because we do. I mean, I try not to labour over the edit side of it, because there's a danger of just taking out all the weird bits and all the awkward moments and just ending up with something sort of too polished. And I do have that tendency because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but I like the fact we're making something for a whole bunch of people to listen to every week. It's sort of, I try my best not to think about that when we're recording, because that'll just make me become sort of too self-conscious, but we are putting effort into it. So it's like the framework around of it is pretty carefully constructed, like the whole idea and the name and the whole hook of the show is something which we've put a lot of energy into, and that's, in everything from just the name itself to the way the logo looks in your podcatcher of choice, all of that. But then in the middle of that, there's this unplanned randomness where we'll sort of just talk about whatever. Like Zach wanted to talk about religion in the last episode, and we just ended up talking about, like sexism and the future of Microsoft and just all this other stuff. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be anything in particular, as long as it's sort of within that framework. Yeah, I've had other failed podcasts in the past, so I can certainly relate to anyone who like this is the one that worked. We've tried to start so many things that didn't have a good hook and didn't quite gel, and just ended up us, sounding like a pale imitation of MacBreak Weekly.
Yeah, which tends to happen, I think, because people just try and do something that's been done, but they're just doing it, and that's usually the only difference, and stuff like that never really works, I think. At least that's been my experience. If you do your own thing, basically, with a hook that works and all of that stuff, then maybe you have a chance of it working. But yeah, that's a really good point, actually. So, yeah. Okay, now we'll move to the last parts of the interview, I guess. So your hardware and software, and we'll start with your hardware. What do you have?
So I do everything from a 2010 15-inch MacBook Pro, the SSD of which I've just replaced with a 500 gig Sony SSD.
Wow, okay.
I'm so happy. I've got so much room. I can record as much stuff as I want. I don't have to... Oh, pardon me. I am drinking. Yeah, it's so great having all that room. I don't have to, offload stuff to different hard drives to work with it and all that sort of thing. So I'm really enjoying that. And I have an iPhone 5, which I have removed the App Store from and removed Twitter from, because I'm just compulsive. I can't help but look at it when I'm out on a date or at the dinner table or whatever, because there might be something new there. There might be something going on I need to take care of. So it's basically an iPhone, which is sort of a dumb phone at this point. And until yesterday morning, I had an iPad mini, but I dropped it and smashed it.
Wow. That's always sad to hear, I think, when the glass breaks, basically.
It was not a good start to the day, and the episode of the menu bar we recorded an hour later is I'm still working on it, but I think it's going to have a bit of a weird dark cloud hanging over me through the whole thing.
So influenced by the iPad mini breakage, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Sorry, we reconcile, we cry it out.
That should be fun.
And I guess the other hardware stuff to talk about is I'm using the Rode Podcaster kit with the whole thing, which everyone else uses. The mount and the shock thing, which holds it. I don't know an awful lot about audio, and the pop filter.
Oh, so you went for the Rode. Okay. Oh yeah.
Yeah, went the whole way. I had a Blue Yeti, but I really, really hated it.
You say, I'm talking on a Blue Yeti and I really love it. But no, why did you hate it? That's a good question.
I was just never happy with the quality I get out of it. I'd try and do the tiniest bit of EQing or, put a noise gate or on it or whatever, and I'd just lose it. There just never seemed to be very much information in the actual recording itself. Part of that might have been, though, that the previous podcast I did before the menu bar, the previous one that actually got out was called I Like This Podcast, and it was an interview show where I talked to creative people I knew about 3 things they liked, so, TV shows or movies or games or whatever. And I was using the Blue Yeti, but sort of in that, there's a switch on the back and you can change it to a mode where it sort of receives audio from both directions. So I was using that. But then we're sitting 3 meters away from it. So the recordings I got were never very good with it.
Yeah, but see
that's just cruel.
Yeah, but that's why I got it. Because the Slovene podcast I do, I usually meet people. It's rarely through Skype. And it's the only mic that actually makes that possible. Because with the dynamic mic, you just couldn't do that. But yeah, I make sure I sit close to the mic. Both people, like me and the guests, sit really close. Yeah, I know what you mean. If you get too much of the room in there, yeah, it's pointless basically. And I've had a couple where I couldn't, because I usually meet them at their office, so it's really dependent. Like the sound quality really depends on, where I'm meeting the person basically. So it's usually bad.
There's a lot to learn with all this. That was the podcast that showed me that I could actually put something out and it would get a couple of downloads, but not many more than that. So that was that was much more a learning experience. But part of that was deciding I want to get the Rode because that's what everyone else uses.
Yeah, well, it's a dynamic mic. If just one person's talking, that's, you should have a dynamic mic basically.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, you should try the the Heil PR40. I've actually talked into one, and that thing is pretty awesome. You just need a lot of gain, so you need a preamp with, a gain gauge that goes to 60 or 61 or 6011. There's a Spinal Tap reference. Okay, so if that's the hardware, let's talk about the software. So I was going to ask any iPad specific apps you use, which is a sad question now, but no, I'm really interested in the iPad specific.
I'm not comfortable with that.
Yeah, too soon.
Too soon, man. Too soon. I use not a great deal. I sort of use my iPad in a pretty casual way. I'd love to try and do podcasting on it, but at this point, that's not something I've invested a really lot of time or energy into figuring out how to do. But I'd keep occasional show notes or whatever on there in Evernote, things like that. But no, I don't really have big iOS workflows. They're definitely the computers I prefer to use for anything that's not, work though.
So what are the apps you use on iOS devices then?
I've got really boring answers. It's just stuff that ties into all the web services. So, Google Drive and Evernote, and actually I'm obsessed with Dots at the moment. That's probably the app I'm using the most. Like Marco Arment, I realized that, if you actually get 4 dots in a row, it makes all of those colors disappear. So suddenly this game actually makes sense. And I love 1Password. I do an awful lot of stuff in 1Password.
And then on your computer? Sure.
So for all the video work I've done, that's primarily been in Final Cut Pro 7 and the Adobe suite, specifically After Effects. That's where I've done all the motion design work and that sort of thing. For the animated film, that was all done in Maya, but that's not an app I usually use. That's something I've learnt enough to do some of the lighting and a bit of the rendering and a tiny bit of animation, just to get that crazy project out the door. But for audio, I call record everything. Use Ecamm Call Recorder for any Skype chat. And I also use Sound Studio to record my own end, just as a little backup. And then edit it all in Logic Pro 7. Tentatively Logic Pro X now as well. 10, sorry.
No, I'm an X guy.
Yeah, X just feels better.
Yeah,
it feels better.
Yeah. It sound. I think our generation just thinks anything with an X sounds badass. I think if you grew up in the 90s, 90s and early 2000s, I think anything that had an X in it just sounds better. I don't know. It just,
totally.
It sounds sci-fi.
Rad.
I think. It makes you feel like you're in charge of a spaceship, basically. Yeah. Okay, so my last question, which is also always the same, is if you had to say about one physical thing that made an impact on your life. You might still have it, you might have had it and threw it away, or it's in a basement somewhere, but just that one thing. It can be a piece of technology, but it has to be something physical, or just, I've forgotten the room heaters as an answer, so it doesn't really matter what it is. So what would that one thing be?
As I was waiting for your call, I remembered that that's your final question. And then started really freaking out because I could not think of a good answer for it. So at long last, I'm going to say my aviator sunglasses.
Which, I think you have that profile picture with the aviators everywhere, right?
I do. That's the me I want to be. We talk about this in the last episode of the Menu Bar, but there's a lot of kind of self-perpetuating identity stuff happening on Twitter. So like you and your profile picture and who you present yourself to be on Twitter starts to sort of feed back on itself and starts to change how you see yourself. And there's something about these aviator sunglasses that as soon as I put them on, I feel like I'm doing better and more able to deal with the world and more the sort of guy that I would like to be, doing the sorts of things I'd like to do.
That is the best.
So that's my answer.
That's the best Ray-Ban endorsement. When I put my Ray-Bans on, I think I'm doing better. That's
it makes things work. Yeah, my other answer was going to be my black skinny jeans. That was my previous answer.
But you see, the aviator it's a better answer. I think that's.
There you go.
Yeah. Okay, Andrew.
A better answer for a better you.
I think some people in the Ray-Ban's marketing department are getting the spidey senses tingling now.
Yes. But that's actually just a giant spider about to jump on their face.
Yeah, the Australian myth. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm going to do a Mike Hurley now and ask you to tell people, not just me, where people can find you online.
I don't know why the way you phrase that makes me laugh. Best place to find me is on Twitter, at Andrew J. Clark, and there's no E on the end of Clark, and J is a letter. Just in case people get confused. And the Menu Bar is...
I'm like, I am a person. Yeah, okay, thank you. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Okay, sorry.
I'm so sorry I've ruined your podcast.
No, that was awesome.
So many.
That was proper corpsing. I couldn't stop that. Okay, so, and the Menu Bar,
is at the Menu Bar on Twitter. That's easy. And themenubar.net on the internet.
Which is still insane that you got that domain. I do not understand that.
But as everyone has said, terrible SEO. Impossible to find in Google.
Yeah, that is true.
It's like Fight Club. You have to be told about it. You can't just search it. You can't Alta Vista it.
Yeah. I think it shut down like a few months ago. I think
you're thinking of Bing.
Yeah, well, maybe. Hopefully. Anyway, Andrew, thanks.
No worries, man. This has been a blast.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, yeah, well, and the J is a letter. I have to put that in the title somehow. That has to be in the title. Oh, wow. This is it. Say bye. Say bye. That's
bye,
it.
Guys. Thank you.
Tole je bila 48. epizoda Aparatusa, jaz sem na Twitterju Anzet, težite mi na Twitterju oziroma prek maila anze@aparatus.si, kakršnega koli feedbacka sem full vesel, predvsem pa hvala unim, ki ste že donirali Aparatus in ste ga podprli finančno, ves ta denar gre za opremo in za serverje in za vse ostalo, tako da kdorkoli še tega ni naredil, pa bi rad, lahko greste na aparatus.si/podpri, res vsak evro prav pride, tako da hvala še enkrat in to je do naslednjega tedna to. Čau.